Welcome back. Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. I'm your host, Travis Reed. Today, I got a special guest, somebody I just recently met, but is a really, really good person. I appreciate you coming on. Played in the NFL, which is something I always wanted to do, but I was just never good enough. So I was like, let me stick with basketball. And that's my ticket. I couldn't take the hits.
Awesome.
I want to just let you introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. My name is Marcus Ogden. I'm from Washington, D.C. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I am a national, international keynote speaker, executive coach, business consultant, best-selling author, business owner, and I'm also a brand ambassador, and I'm also a podcast host of a globally ranked top 1.5% podcast called the Get Authentic with Marcus Show.
Yeah, like I said, he's a man of many hats, people. And his transition from sports to what he's doing now has been a great one. And like I said, I wanted to let everybody know to hear his story because it's a story of triumph, a story of perseverance. It's something that young athletes, as well as people who are, just retiring, whatever the case may be, y'all can see there's something past that mountain of being an athlete. So we're just getting right into it. How did your sports journey start?
Yeah, I started playing football in the 9th grade. My brother Jonathan, who's an NFL Hall of Famer, UCLA grad himself, he started playing in the 7th grade because we were too big for Pop Warner. So I had a great career at St. John's College High School in Northwest DC. From there, went to the Howard University in Washington, DC, got a full scholarship to play for the Bison. Had a great time there. I was a 4-year starter at tackle, right, left, and I even played center the last 6 games of my senior year. Then I was drafted to the National Football League by the Jacksonville Jaguars, who actually beat the Chargers in a thriller this past last week, 31-30. So that was awesome to see for the Jaguar community. And, from there, man, I struggled immensely. And then from there, I got into a deep depression, anxiety, stress, and heartache when my career in the National Football League was concluded.
Okay. Yeah, no, trust me, it's a lot of people that's dealing with that same kind of thing, me, myself included. So I understand that, that great deal of depression and all that other stuff. So like I said, like people can hear your story, like we were talking about how you persevered through all that, to get to where you're at now. So, we're going to go back a little bit, as far as like you started playing football in the 9th grade. Did you think about playing any other sports?
Yeah, I played basketball in 8th grade. I didn't play in high school, which is too much running for me, and I was not into trying to do all that. I did play I did throw the shot put, did a little track 1 year. I did try wrestling 1 year, my junior year in high school. But, for me, it was really just about football and having that opportunity to go and play, like I said, for the Bison and have that opportunity in that regard. So for me, it was really awesome, great career, but football was always my main ticket. I knew that if it was going to be anything, it was going to be in the gridiron, so on the gridiron, in between the hashes.
Okay. And as far as like your recruiting process to go to college, was there a lot of schools that were offering you scholarships? Why did you choose the school you went to?
I had one scholarship offer from Howard University. That's it. That is it. And I took that opportunity, went to Howard. I tell athletes all the time, it only takes one, because you only can go to one school. So It's great to be, to have everybody want you, and that's awesome. But wherever you go, choose wisely, because again, you can only have one school, and that's it.
Makes sense. And then what do you remember like about your college years of playing, at Howard University?
Oh man, it was great, man. Playing for the Bison. I mean, Howard homecoming is legendary. I remember seeing, when I was in college, like Lil Wayne and Cash Money and DMX and Jay-Z and, Puffy and, all these legends, Busta Rhymes and, I could go on and on, Maya, to all these phenomenal people. And playing for Howard as an HBCU, as the most prominent HBCU in the world, it was nothing like it, because I was able to carry on that tradition. I remember watching The Cosby Show growing up. Everybody always had Howard shirts on. Then go to Martin, they had Howard shirts on. And then Different World. And like every Black show, and even a couple of white shows actually, were wearing Howard. So to go there and be playing for the Bison, then eventually I was inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2022 October. That was a big deal.
Oh, congratulations on that. I didn't know that. Another accolade we can put on the list.
That's awesome.
What would you say is your greatest triumph in college and your greatest failure? What would be your two things?
Greatest failure was my first game ever playing against Jackson State in Mississippi. I thought I was much better than what I was, and I expected to go into the game and just crush it and kill it. I'm like, oh, I'm a redshirt freshman starting. We had a senior right guard, a junior center, a senior left guard, a senior left tackle. I'm like, wow, I'm out here with the big boys. I'm a redshirt freshman, and I'm starting. Like, I gotta be the man. And then I got my ass handed to me and gave up 5 sacks in that game against a veteran player who transferred down from North Carolina State to Jackson State and played. And it's interesting now that I live in the Raleigh area, in that regard. So for me, man, that was my greatest failure. Then my greatest triumph was my senior year, having never played center before, getting moved to center and playing center and having a really good last 6 games, and then still able to go to a bowl game, the Hula Bowl, show out well, and they get drafted to the National Football League by the Jaguars.
Wow. Like I said, that's amazing. So what would be your biggest lesson that you learned from college, or learned in college, rather?
So the biggest lesson that I learned, coming back from college, was I learned how to position myself, and I learned how to put myself in a position where I could always better myself and go from there.
Okay.
And when I did that, that's exactly how I was able to say, you know what? I can adjust. I can make moves. I can pivot. I can do this. I can do that. And taking that ability from Howard and then putting into life, everyday life, was huge for me. My dad was a Howard Bison. My dad played, at the Mecca, and he took his skill sets and transitioned them into being a very successful, bank manager in downtown DC. So I learned a lot about pivoting and how to position yourself and all those things from my dad, from Howard, which was really big for me in my life.
Okay. Now, being the fact that you obviously had an older brother who was, pretty big name, how was your draft process going to the NFL?
So for me, man, they said you might be a 3rd round pick, depending upon how things go, or you may not get drafted at all. So for me, it was very stressful. Each round that went by, you don't know what's going to happen. Each pick that goes by, teams would call and say, well, we're looking to draft you. And they may draft you, they may not. So it's very stressful when you get into that. But then at pick 193, the Jaguars, I remember Jack calling me and saying, okay, Marcus, tell everybody else to go away. We're picking you at the 193rd pick. You're going to get some calls from some media. You're going to get some calls from people in the Jaguar community. And then in a couple of days, you're going to be flying down to Jacksonville for OTAs and to meet your coaches and to see everybody, learn the community. We'll see you in Jacksonville. And, that was huge for me. And I was drafted with some great guys like Byron Leftwich and Rasheem Mathis, George Reister, LeBrandon Tofield, Brandon Green, Vince Manawai, Lafo, who was our fullback, from USC, all these great guys. I played with guys like Brett Romberg and all these different things, man. So great draft class, great people, great organization. And yeah, for me, man, when I saw my name come across on ESPN, I was like, okay, now I've made it. This is huge. And that gave me an opportunity to go and say, you know what? I can play this game.
No, that feeling is just probably like sensational when you get that.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. You know that what you're doing is the highest of the high. You know what I mean? And that's huge.
Did you work out with any other teams, or was Jacksonville like the main team that was going to draft you?
Well, I mean, I was taught the Ravens were thinking about it, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Colts, the 49ers, the Giants. I had some the Rams. So I had some great teams that were looking at me. But the Jaguars and Coach Jack Del Rio and my O-line coach Paul Boudreaux, they saw a lot in me, and I'll always be very thankful to Jack and to Coach Boudreaux for that. And I still talk to Paul to this day. He's retired, and Jack is still coaching. He's the D coordinator with the Washington Commanders. So he's still coaching to this day.
Okay. And your career lasted 6 years. Was it just all in Jacksonville?
No, I had Jacksonville, Baltimore, Buffalo, and then the Tennessee Titans. So it was a great career with some great teams, great guys. I played with guys like my brother, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, guys like Eric Moles, Willis McGahee, Chris Kelsey, London Fletcher, Lawyer Malloy. Played with guys like Vince Young, to Michael Griffin, to Stephen Tulloch, to Antoine Odom, Albert Hainsworth. Played, of course, with Big John Henderson and Stroud and Mike Peterson and Don Medeiros, Fred Taylor, all in Jacksonville. So honestly, I have a tremendous amount of NFL brotherhood that I'm close to with different teams. And it's awesome, man, because that brotherhood in the NFL, when we retire, if you're a good guy, now if you're an asshole in the field or you're just it's not gonna be good. But when you're like a competitor and do your thing, it's awesome.
Okay. So let me ask you this: based on your experience in the 6 years you played, what would be your best advice for the next generation of yourself?
Learn how to continue to be open to listening, and don't come in there thinking that you know everything. Where the vets, that if they're lucky enough to want to help you, that you don't listen. The vets are going to really help you either make the team, or if you're a high draft pick, you're going to always make the team, but they'll help you transition easier onto the field. So remember, the vets are your key to success. So the minute you start thinking that you're better than them, or you don't need to listen to them, then you're going to start to have problems. So always have that mentality where you're always listening to the vets, doing what's necessary, and never, ever putting yourself in a position where you're not going to follow through in that regard.
Okay. Now, you played 6 years, obviously with 4 different teams. When did you know it was time to hang it up, or did it kind of happen to you?
It kind of happened. And then my last year with Tennessee, after my father passed away the year prior, and I was just so into not having the right mindset. I was struggling with how to focus and what was going to be next. So I knew at that time it was time to step away. And I knew that I got really, really small, and I couldn't keep weight on. And I had a hard time with, the physicality of the line, because I didn't have the size like I used to when I was younger. And, it started to tear my body up. And I said, man, this is just not going to be good.
Okay. Like, that's obviously, we never know when it's time, but like you start to feel like, okay, now it's time for me to just hang this stuff. I can't do it no more.
I can't do it anymore, man. I can't do it anymore. And you know what? At some point, you got to say, you know what? You can't do it anymore, and that's okay. And you got to try to figure out what's next in life, because, I look at Tom Brady. They got beat bad by the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom the GOAT. I mean, the absolute GOAT. But at what point is Tom going to say enough's enough? And retire and be serious. And this, now unfortunately he's going through a divorce and things like that, which is really sad. But hopefully, Tom's got a huge $356 million contract waiting on him at Fox. Like, it's waiting on him. So hopefully Tom will come to a place where he says, you know what? I've played this game. I've given it all I have. It's time to move on. I wonder if Aaron Rodgers will move on. I mean, the Packers have to pay him, I saw, over $58 million for next year. Are they going to pay him that?
Yeah.
Or is it time for them to move on and cut ties with Aaron? I mean, Aaron was one of the greatest also. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But at his age, is he $58 million worthy? I don't know. The Packers have to make that call.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think a lot of our stars, even the greatest of the great, like you said, with Tom Brady for football, everybody remembers like Michael Jordan when he went back to Washington after being 3 years retired, or, even the last years of Kobe Bryant, where it was just kind of a struggle. So when you like at that level, it's hard to let it go, all the way down to people, high school, college, whatever. It's hard to let that go. So
Mm-hmm.
you retire from the NFL. What happens next?
So then I struggled for about 6 months with alcohol, addiction, painkillers, nightlife. And then I got into construction and built the largest African American owned subcontracting company in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland for 2 years. But unfortunately, as the company grew, my ego grew right along with it. And I became very self centered, very just focused on what I wanted and nobody else, and no one else mattered. And I was all about money and fame and notoriety. As a result of that, I got into a predicament and I ended up pushing away my best employees. And between that and having a job go south, where I spent about $3 million over budget, and my change order work that I agreed with the owner and developer through a handshake was reneged on by the developer and the contractor. I filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2013, moved to Raleigh, and lost everything that I owned at that time.
Wow. Okay. That's, man, I don't even know what to say about that one. That's just crazy. Yeah, like I said, a little bit speechless on that one. So you lose, everything, right? And how do you build your way back up to the success that you are today?
Great quote by J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter in her car. Rock bottom was the moment that I rebuilt my life. I ended up coming to Raleigh, fired from 2 jobs in the same week. I ended up working as a custodian for $8.25 an hour on the graveyard shift. And as a result of that work, I ended up having what's called my rock bottom spoiled milk moment, where somebody's trash and rotten meat and nasty protruding garbage got over my body, my skin, and my clothes. And that was my wake-up call. I said, wow, if I don't change and put some accountability and responsibility in my life, I'll always be right here playing the victim, blaming everybody else, and just not having a good, sound approach to how to live life in that regard.
Man, I see. Like I said, that makes a lot of sense. I think that, having accountability in self is the first thing to kind of like start building what you are as a person. I definitely agree with that. So, you obviously you hit rock bottom and you start building your way up. What's the first big thing that you got into to move you ahead to get you where you're at today?
Speaking. I mean, I started trying to speak in September 2013, didn't get a paid job for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got our first paid job, April 2016, got coached in 2018. And, in the last, 6.5 years since we got our first paid job, it'll be almost, almost 7 years in April. It'll be 7 years since we got our first paid job. We've worked now for 48 Fortune 500 companies as a speaker, 48. We are coaching, we're consulting. We have written, 3 best-selling books. 4 best-selling books, 2 by ourselves, 2 we are co-authors of. We have a very successful podcast. We have a phenomenal brand and all this stuff. But again, we started at the bottom, and I was at complete rock bottom. What's that, 10 years ago, 2013, April, or almost 10 years ago, I was completely broke, almost homeless, and not having a dime to my name.
Okay. Now, and I guess my next question will lead on from the last one. How did you get into different, like you started out with the speaking, but did that speaking lead you into the podcast and lead you into different things?
Oh yeah. Speaking was the catalyst. And from there, we got into coaching, consulting. Then we started leveraging our brand to get parts of different businesses that we wanted to be, work with. Then for the next phase, we got into, being a brand ambassador. Then we got into podcasting, and then we wrote some books. So let me go back in the order. So it was speaking, then the books. Well, our first book. So I became an author. So speaking, then an author, then a coach, then a consultant. Then I started picking up equity in different businesses. Then I became a brand ambassador. and then I started the podcast.
Okay. I mean, like I said, so much stuff that you got going. Mark, I love it, man. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on. Got one more question for you.
Sure.
At one point, like I said, in our lives or our careers as former athletes, we all go through like a low point. Uh, my question for you is, how did you get out of that low point? Was it family? Was it self? Was it God? Was it all the above?
It was all the above: family, self, God. Well, God first, then self. No, we go back. God, family, then self. So, God, family, self, and that pushed me in the right direction. And I started seeing a brighter day ahead. For anybody listening that's struggling, again, for anybody that's listening that's struggling, just don't give up. It doesn't matter if you take a step forward and go 4 back, 2 steps forward, 5 back, 3 forward, 9 back, 4 forward, another 4, then 10 back. Just keep moving forward. If you don't give up, you are impossible to beat.
Boom. You know what I'm saying? That's perfect. The perfect, perfect answer. Since you're doing so much stuff, well, I would love to for people to find you.
Sure.
So please let everybody know where they can find you and all your information, please.
Sure. Our website, www.marcus, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com. Connect with us, shoot us a message, and we love to chat with you.
Yeah. And like I said, he does have, like I said, podcasting, consulting, speaking engagements, all that stuff, and we definitely want to support him. And like I said, if you please look him up, because he's got everything going on. Like I said, how many people got a best-selling book and a best-selling podcast all at the same time? Not too many people. So I give him props for all that. Like I said, we appreciate you coming on the show. Marcus, man, I appreciate you for real, man.
No, appreciate having me on, Travis. Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it.
All right. You can, like I said, you can find me at Travis W. Reed. That's REED on Instagram. Also Travis W. Reed on Facebook. And if you're still looking for that Travis Reed Athlete's Journey merch, like I said, please DM me or message me. And like I said, I'll be sending them out to you. All right, we'll talk to you later. Peace.